Hello, welcome wherever you are around the world to the 3ZZZ World Cup show. My name is Gabriel D'Angelo. It is wonderful to have your company. And speaking of wonderful company, sitting next to me, we have from the Irish Broadcasting Group, the jazz singer, DeArne Leonard. How are you, DeArne?
I'm very good, and yourself?
Good, thank you. And sitting next to DeArne from the German Broadcasting Group, the butterfly effect, that is Bernd Merkel. How are you, Bernd?
I'm good, thanks Gabriel. Good evening.
Well, we're at the serious end, the tail end of the World Cup. Unfortunately, it's about to finish soon. But the round of 16 seems like a lifetime ago now, but that's all over. The quarterfinals, they're halfway done. Last night or early in the morning, Croatia versus Brazil, there was a 1-1 draw, and then Croatia ended up winning on penalties 4-2. The Netherlands versus Argentina, a 2-2 draw. I think that one's a little bit more expected than the Croatia result, and that finished off 4-3 for Argentina. Fantastic results there, depending on what country you support. But firstly, Croatia versus Brazil. I mean, let's get into that one. Yes, I think a sharp intake of breath is needed to discuss that, DeArne. But what did you make of that one?
Look, firstly, we were saying before today's recording that the last 9 international games in this situation with Croatia have 8 of those 9 have ended up in a penalty shootout. So I would not want to be any country going to the penalty shootout against them because they're experienced. But it was one of those games where it didn't seem to be picking up too much momentum, and it was just gridlocked. And then we get to the penalty kick out, and it's like the team we didn't expect to leave, Brazil, gone ski.
I think you make a good point. I think Croatia are sort of like the new Germany in a way. Like, you have to beat them in the 90 minutes, because once you play penalty shootouts or extra time, they've got you.
And I mean, Brazil was definitely the better team, right? And I was already expecting during the 90 minutes, similar with other games that we saw in the World Cup before, that okay, it's going to be not a done deal, but Brazil is really creating their chances. They are the dominating team, particularly in the second half. Yeah. And then when Neymar scored this wonderful goal, and that showed me also from soccer or fan perspective how easy sometimes football can be. You know, yes. 1-2, 1-2, and then you're in front of the goalkeeper, and boom, and then
it's like the 3ZZZ team. Yeah. The way we play is exactly like that.
I wish, with all respect, but then as you said, Croatia coming back. So that's really something I found impressive. Never underestimate them, and never take them for okay, that's a done deal. Yeah. I already saw a few news like, is Modric getting too tired, slowly getting into that age in his late 30s. And from that end, it's sad to see Brazil gone out of the World Cup based on their performance against South Korea, which was really impressive. So I thought they are now on the right track. But on the other end, this is still the nice thing. Some things are still unpredictable.
Well, this has been an unpredictable World Cup, hasn't it?
It has, but also to the Modric point, did you see that half volley he kicked in that game? Yeah. That's not a tired player.
Well, that's someone playing for his country, really. Yeah. That sort of pride for Croatia.
And I mean, he's still playing full time all the time for Real Madrid, right?
Yeah.
But so
just a small club, but they're all right, Real Madrid.
But in the end, I mean, congratulations to Croatia, and it's sad to see Brazil gone out, as I said. But in the end, if you don't finish, we have seen it so many games. Yeah. Germany, Spain, and then you're gone.
I think there should be much more credit placed on Croatia as a footballing country. I mean, this is their 3rd semi-final appearance when you think about it. Their first World Cup in '98, semi-finalists. The last World Cup, 2018, they made it all the way to the final. They're here in another semi-final. They've knocked out Brazil, who arguably was probably the best team in the tournament, the way they've been playing. So, Croatia for a long time, wonderful players, fantastic ability.
Davor Šuker in those
Boban, Prozanovski, Šuker, you name it. Croatia have always had a factory of wonderful players. So, like, now that they're in another semi-final at this major tournament, the World Cup, will they finally get the respect that's like, well, Croatia, this last World Cup wasn't a fluke. They're damn good.
I think they have the respect already, Gabriel. I think it's also like coming from, they are difficult to play. I think in particular from a German perspective, we had 2 or 3 games, World Cup, European Cup, where we lost against Croatia. So it's really tough. Nobody likes playing against them. And I think now they are also getting to that level, a bit more that respect that, okay, not only we need to bring 100% to beat them, we can actually lose against them. They are, again, proven they are a world-class team.
Yeah, exactly.
They're also bravely one of the few countries still playing free-form soccer out on the pitch. The football is not as set play as some other countries are.
Yeah, that's
I
a
think
good point.
that's actually one of their strengths, to be honest. That's where they surprise people.
Yeah, well, that's true. But Croatia through to the semi-final, Brazil dancing to the airport.
Outstanding goalkeeper performance as well.
Well,
right?
that's very true. But Brazil, you know, we can go on about them for the rest of the show, but also at the same time, they did have a touch of arrogance about them. There was this sort of like, they probably thought they were going to win it. I mean, the way they behaved against South Korea, it's one thing for the players to dance and celebrate, but having the coach there, dancing there with them, it's like, come on, coach.
I think maybe part of that was because they just come off a loss to Cameroon in the group stages.
Yeah, but they didn't really try that. I mean, not to take away from Cameroon's performance, but like the round of 16 is actually quite tricky. It's probably the trickiest because teams like Brazil, teams like France, they don't want to show all their cards on the table too much. So they still want to keep some of their secrets. They don't want to give away everything. But once they make it to the quarterfinals, it's like, okay, throw everything against the wind.
Where's the line, though, between arrogance and just national pride, though?
And culture as well. I mean, I know with Brazil, it's very extreme. I mean, you've seen them 2014 after they lost against Germany. You know, it was like devastating for them. They are crying a lot because of sadness and when they are losing, but also crying when they are out of joy when they are winning. So I get your point, but I didn't make too much out of that dancing, and now they are out anyway, right? So, but I'm not happy for that because they were just unlucky and
I mean, but like if they want to dance, they can dance, and they do dance quite well. But I'm just saying, like, the players can do that, but having Tite, the coach, come in and dancing with them, it's a little bit like, come on, you're the coach, you need to sort of set standards.
Coaches can be yellow and red carded just like a player these days,
Yeah,
so
I
why
mean,
can't they be dancing?
but like if he wants to dance in the change rooms after the game, go right ahead, and he probably did, but after a few caipirinhas, I'm pretty sure. But just briefly, let's talk about Netherlands and Argentina. Messi, he's still got a chance to win that World Cup. They defeated the Netherlands, but it was a cracking game.
2-0 up Argentina, and I thought, I mean, Netherlands were not convincing for me in terms of how far they can go, maybe semi-final, final. They got a little bit better in the round of the last 16, where they have beaten USA, I think it was, right? But yeah, coming back after the 2-0 down, and I thought they had that momentum in the extra time. I was surprised that they didn't use it more, so I felt like they were stepping back and again giving the pitch to Argentina and just being a bit more reactive.
A little bit too conservative, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know what Van Gaal's approach during that extra time was. If you score that late, it was a magnificent free kick, so you know everybody was expecting the direct shot on goal, and it was awesome. But in the end, I think Argentina definitely, in particular at the end of the extra time, invested more. So I think they deserved it, even if it was in a penalty shootout. Again, great goalkeeper Martinez, in the penalty shootout. So and for Messi, the dream is still alive. Yeah.
Arguably, it could be his last World Cup, given.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Well, he hasn't announced it, but you know, let's live on in hope that he can keep going. But I found myself watching a game in the first 2 halves where it was like a dance. It was going from one side of the pitch to the other. Because one thing Argentina is very good at is they will walk the ball up and then they explode in this speed that you're not expecting. And the Netherlands contained them as far as that was concerned. Yes, they were 2 up, but it could have been worse had they not sort of had some rhythm and control over the game. Then we get to that, as you say, brilliant goal in extra time in the second half, and I was just about jumping off my couch, losing my voice, screaming for the Netherlands.
Damn, she didn't lose it completely.
But then you get to the extra time and it was two different teams on the pitch.
Yeah.
And it really was the game changer leading up to penalties.
To that result,
Exactly.
yeah. But,
And interesting what they're going to do now against Croatia. You know, I think it's
Yeah.
You still kind of feel Argentina's the favorite going into that game.
Yes,
But having seen now Brazil against Croatia, and it's a semi-final at a World Cup, so I think it's 50.
Japan against Croatia, that was from the round of 16, that was my pick of the game, and that was the most exciting one for me out of all of them.
Yeah.
Just the intensity of it. So Croatia just seemed to be improving, and they've taken it to the penalty box every time. So please, Argentina, don't find yourself in the penalties.
So I think it's 50-50 for me. That semi-final.
I agree with you on that one. But Argentina, Croatia, the semi-final game, Wednesday, the 14th of December, 6 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be a fantastic game. We could talk about that all day, but we've got more to do. We'll be back after the break. We've got on the other side of the break, we have Elsa Mangan from Go Soccer Mums. But first, our friend Brian Yap. Tell us things, won't you?
Hey, it's me again. You know how Melbourne is the coffee capital of Australia? And you know how we boast about how great our coffee is? Well, you must be pretty good if you're the best in Melbourne. And Albert Street Cafe is the best. They have the best coffee and sandwiches in Melbourne. I know, well, that's a big claim, but trust me, one visit to Albert Street Cafe and you'll be hooked. Come and see for yourself. Meet Tony and his friendly staff and see why they're the best. Albert Street Cafe, 306 Albert Street, Brunswick.
One of the main reasons why football is so popular is that anyone can play it. Anywhere, at any time, and at any skill level. Even those who are out of practice or who just want to socialise can enjoy and play the beautiful game. And one of these initiatives that offer this experience is the Go Soccer Mums. To talk about the Go Soccer Mums, we have with us from Football Victoria, Elsa Mangan. Elsa, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me.
So what exactly is the Go Soccer Mums?
So Go Soccer Mums is an introductory football program for women from all walks of life, where they get the opportunity to learn about football, but also have fun, meet other people in the community, and just get active as well in a fun learning environment.
So one of the things I saw was, I love the hashtags because it's Football Victoria sponsored by Vic Health, and it was hashtag no experience required, and I love the second one, hashtag no judgment.
Yeah.
And there are some amazing footage of women who have come from challenging backgrounds playing Go Soccer Mums, and it's quite inspirational. But as a woman, it can be very difficult if you've been sort of sedentary and not moving around for a couple of years to get the courage, as one of them said, to get out of my car and walk onto that pitch. And everyone says that it's fun, it's fantastic. So where can we find you to get involved?
So you're right. The hardest part, I think, for a lot of things like Go Soccer Mums or just getting active is getting there, and that's the hard part. Done once you're there, it's super fun and easy. So how you can get involved or where you can get involved, there's a range of programs at a number of clubs. So we run Go Soccer Mums through clubs across Victoria, and at the moment we've got a really great range of clubs who are delivering the program in Term 4. You can find those on gofootball.com.au. All over the state pretty much. So anywhere from say Aspendale to Melton Phoenix, out that way. There's a range of clubs and some in the CBD as well now too, which is great.
And they work kind of when I've seen them advertised, they're by term, so the clubs will set up a term with different times of the day.
Yes.
So does that mean you've got some programs running for, say, mums after school drop off versus an evening when they're finished work? It seems to be very flexible.
Yeah. So we work with our clubs to determine what works best for their community, whether it be through running it along the same time as junior trainings, and there's a lot of parents and mothers in particular there anyway. Whereas some clubs work really well, like you said, after that school drop off time when they might be located near a school or a daycare centre where they can just drop off and get a chance to get active.
And how did you self get involved with it? So where does this love for soccer come from?
For myself?
Yes.
Just through, I guess, where I grew up in northern New South Wales. The school I went to was really big on football, so really grew a love for it through that, and then convinced my parents to let me sign up for the local club, and just went from there through playing, coaching, administrating, and now really lucky to work at Football Victoria. So Yeah, that's my love for football, but my love for programs like Go Soccer Mums in particular as well is through my mum, who took part in a similar program back home, and just seeing how the impact it had on her. And she met other people in the community. She always drove me and my sisters around for so many games and trainings, and just to have the opportunity to learn about it herself and experience it herself. Really developed a love for programs like that. So.
And it's not in particular only for mums, so it can also be a woman that doesn't have a child.
Exactly. Yeah. So it can be for any woman, whether they have children or not. Anyone who's just sort of interested in football or just wanting an opportunity to get active through something new. Yeah.
How can a club be a part of the Go Soccer Mums program?
Yeah, so to be a part of the Go Soccer Mums program, it's just as simple as reaching out to us at soccermums@footballvictoria.com.au, and we can sort of step you through the steps of becoming what we call a Go Football provider, and completing the training, and then you receive all the support and resources to run the program as well, which includes your equipment pack, project manager support, delivery training, and all the promotional resources as well.
Yeah. And how did Go Soccer Mums start at the beginning? So how did everything sort of get into place?
Yeah, so it came about, as you mentioned, we're funded by Vic Health, so the Active Women and Girls strategy, where they funded the program through a partnership with Football Victoria. And I think it was identified, I guess, through Vic Health's research, in that there is a high proportion of women in particular who are less active or inactive. And they're partnered with a range of state sporting associations to think of, I guess, new and innovative ways to offer physical activity, which obviously sort of benefits Vic Health's interest in getting more women more active, but also the interest of the state sporting associations in getting more women into their sports. So,
During lockdowns, was there any, obviously there was hurdles for everybody around Victoria in terms of playing and all that. Did Go Soccer Mums have any initiatives in that regard in trying to keep in contact with their members?
Yeah, so we tried to, it's obviously quite difficult with the constraints of lockdown in terms of how we can get out and about. So in terms of participation and club capacity as well, it was quite limited, but we tried to, keep in touch with clubs and any interested clubs who were sort of interested in starting the program, continuing the program post-lockdown, whenever that was going to be. We didn't know at the time. We ran quite a few online initiatives in terms of delivering connection sessions and club connection sessions, and delivering online sessions to sort of increase the capacity of clubs in terms of Go Soccer Mums. So, yeah.
So you recently had your inaugural Go Soccer Mums Cup, the Knox. I think it was 5-a-side, 3 games per team, and the top 2 went for it.
Yeah.
Who won?
It was such a great day. It was so great to finally be able to see all the planning actually come to fruition in terms of the Go Soccer Mums Cup day. It had to be rescheduled a number of times due to lockdowns and other issues. So Killer Park were our inaugural Go Soccer Mums Cup day champions. It was a really great match to watch against Brunswick City. In that final, I think it went to extra time, and we were thinking it might go to penalties as well. But it was just so great to see 2 of our really well-established Go Soccer Mums clubs fighting out for the inaugural cup, and just to see everyone there on the day as well. It was really great.
So I think there might be capacity to have every 6 months, like a winter and a summer cup, just to increase participation?
Yeah, well, it's something we're sort of considering in providing more game-based experiences for our Go Soccer Mums participants. Yeah. Initially, it is a training-based program, but that's the feedback we're getting from a lot of our participants. They just love that game experience and that sort of extra level of added competitiveness. Yeah. A lot of the feedback from the tournament was around like more. It's something we're sort of working on at the moment, whether it be definitely an annual continuation of that cup, but then sort of offering maybe sort of like hub-based game day experiences moving forward.
Yeah, wonderful.
And how excited are you that the Women's World Cup is coming to Australia and New Zealand next year?
Yeah, super excited. I think like most of us in the football world, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like come July next year. But very excited, and I think a lot of our Go Soccer Mums participants and clubs are too.
Will you only watch games in Melbourne, or do you have any travel plans to watch Australia maybe in Sydney at the opening game?
I actually booked tickets with my family up in northern New South Wales to watch the Brisbane game versus Nigeria. And yeah, obviously Melbourne, and hopefully we can get to Sydney and some other locations as well.
And who's going to win?
Oh.
Very early to predict, right?
No, that's a good question. I'm gonna say Australia, I reckon.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of Go Soccer Mums, it seems like the underlying theme of it is the inspiration that it gives to a lot of the participants. Is there a particular story about someone who was a participant at Go Soccer Mums that really sort of like, wow, this is just an amazing project?
Yeah, I think, and as you mentioned, there's a few on our Football Victoria website that you can watch, and one in particular was a participant, Shelley Christie, who she had, and yeah, just seeing, I guess, she's been a part of the program a lot longer than I have, in terms of my role, but just sort of, yeah, getting to know her and listen to her story, having experienced a number of health issues, that sort of, I guess, that was a catalyst in her in sort of taking on Go Soccer Mums, and just the impact it's had on not just her health, but also her, I guess, all realms of well-being for her. And she's also, become a deliverer and taken on quite a few roles at the club, and just seeing the impact it's had on her and her life. It's just, one of the many great stories.
I think she said that her family saved her life, but Go Soccer Mums gave her inspiration, gave her a future.
Yeah. So
that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge, and she's a great advocate for the program down in Mount Martha.
Okay. And we always talk about participation rates after the World Cup. Does the same thing happen with the Go Soccer Mums? Like every World Cup, is there a boost in participation rates?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I guess I haven't been in this role whilst there has been a World Cup. Right now, I guess. But and you see, I guess, the buzz and the hype and everything else in the community. So I'm really interested to see the impact that the Women's World Cup in particular next year is going to have on participation rates in general, but particularly in terms of Go Soccer Mums, I think it'll be really interesting to see. I'm hoping so.
Yeah, well, I assume you will.
Yeah.
Almost being at the end of 22, so what are the plans for next year apart from the tournament that's going to be done again, I guess?
Yeah. So we're really lucky in that our funding's been extended to mid next year.
Oh, that's great.
So that's going to give us a continued, I guess, boost in terms of the program, in terms of its ongoing sort of running. So a big focus for us is program scale now that we're sort of in a consistent sort of delivery landscape out of lockdown. So we're going to try and get as many programs up and going as we can. So really working with a number of clubs, but also diversifying the locations that can be run. So working with a number of councils at the moment if they want to run school holiday programs, but also local businesses, if for example a lunchtime program for women in their workplace. Scale, diversifying the landscapes that can be delivered within, and just really, I guess, trying to add to the quality and the value of the program whilst we can.
Before we let you go, can you please give us the details of Go Soccer Mums? So if anybody wants to be a part of Go Soccer Mums, where do they go?
So you can head to footballvictoria.com.au and just follow the prompts for Go Soccer Mums on there. For our current Go Soccer Mums locations, you can go to gofootball.com.au and again follow the Go Soccer Mums prompts. Or if you want to reach out to us, you can get us on Soccer Mums at footballvictoria.com.au.
Okay, so thank you very much for your time, Elsa. All the best to you and to everybody involved in Go Soccer Mums. It's a wonderful project and we hope it gets bigger and better as time goes on.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on board.
Not a problem. We have to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we have Skip Fulton from the South Melbourne Football Club. But first, here's our friend Brian Yap. Take it away, Yappers.
Hey tradies and DIYers, listen to this. Bowens have everything you need to fix up your bathroom, your bedroom, your kitchen, your whole house if you want to. Bowens are the builder's choice for a reason. If you want to get the job done properly, done professionally, and done on time and on a budget, you know where to go. That's right, follow that big yellow sign there and head to Bowens. Bowens have been servicing the community for 128 years, so they know what they're doing. Come visit the friendly staff and ask how Bowens can help you today. Bowens, the builder's choice.
The South Melbourne Football Club is arguably the best football club in Australia. It is officially named the Oceania Club of the Century by FIFA. It's a club steeped with tradition and triumph. And to talk more about the South Melbourne Football Club, we have with us Football Coordinator and Media Manager for South Melbourne, Skip Fulton. Skip, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me along, great to be here.
So what exactly do you do apart from absolutely everything at South Melbourne?
So my core role is looking after the media and communication side of the club, but in the last couple of years that's expanded to be the football director of our All Abilities program. So wide encompassing around diversity and inclusion and trying to offer football for as many different members of the community as we can.
Okay, does anybody else have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks for coming, Skip.
I thought you wanted to ask another one.
Yeah,
So.
sorry.
We were talking before we started recording about how busy you've been lately and some of the commitments, and there's some exciting news about what you've been asked to step up and do, I think, for the Power Chair team.
Yeah, so we ran a development camp here in Melbourne. So we had the Australian national team come down to Melbourne for their training in preparation for the World Cup that's coming up in Sydney in October, November next year. And as a result of that, I've been invited to be the team manager for the national team. So it's really a great opportunity, not just for myself, but also for the Victorian environment to be more involved in that national team. Victoria, for the first time, we've got 3 players trialling as part of that squad to potentially represent their state and their country at a World Cup level. So some really great opportunities coming up for us all.
So by your own admission, you're a relative newcomer to the World Games, so we're not talking 20, 30 years. How did you progress from, say, the involvement at South Melbourne into the All Abilities, the Power Chair, the blind team, because South Melbourne has a presence in those areas? What got you started?
So the journey for us as a club started about 5 years ago. In mid-2018, we were approached by what was then the Victorian Electric Wheelchair Sporting Association, and they had one team, which was Melbourne City. They'd grown through some great work of people like Craig Kilby and Luke David, expanded their player base, and they were now ready to have a second team. So they had approached another club that had declined, and so they had come to us. We said yes straight away. So it was about embracing that group of individuals into our club. Everything from bringing them along to social events, bringing them onto match days, providing them with playing kit, off-field apparel, hoodies, jackets, that sort of thing, to really say you are another senior team within our club environment. And so that's been 5 years through that journey. A similar scenario occurred with Australian Blind Football. They wanted to grow their blind and vision impaired football program here in Melbourne. They'd seen what we've been doing in the power chair space and invited us to partner with them to run that program. And so we're now 2 years into that and looking forward to commencing the next expansion of that as we progress next year.
Is there any similar roles in other states to yours? So any people that you know that you're building that kind of national acknowledgement and making it more popular?
It's really progressive. In certain states have certain pockets. New South Wales is very big, especially in the power chair space. They formed it, they really were the ones that kicked it off. So when you look at the dynamics of the Australian football hierarchy, there are some A-League clubs who are very, very active, very, very involved. I'd probably say that Western Sydney Wanderers and Sydney FC are really the benchmark at that level. The next level down, NPL clubs like ourselves are also getting involved in that sort of thing. So some of these clubs have dedicated All Abilities coordinators, similar to the role I sort of do. So it's a great opportunity to leverage off what they've done, share the ideas of what we've done, what works, what doesn't work. One of the biggest discussion points we always have is what we call basic recruitment. How do you get the message out there? How do you get into whether it's attracting families or getting those new players to come along and try for the very first time is one of the biggest challenges for us. Generally, once we get them there, they generally get hooked pretty quickly and they like to come back.
And how can someone trial? Like, do they contact you or the club? Who does?
Yeah, so the greatest thing is through either the South Melbourne website at smfc.com.au or Powerchair specifically, it's psv.org.au. And you get an appreciation for what the sport's about. So they've got videos, photos, everything. You get an idea and appreciation of what we have to offer. Powerchair is generally a summer month kind of activity. The players don't really like the cold too much, so we generally go from October through until about April. We run two out of every 3 Sundays, just in Parkville at Melbourne Sports Centres, and every single one of those sessions has come and try included. So people can try it in their everyday power chair, or we provide them with a loan chair that they can swap into to have a go at one of the more advanced chairs. And similar to our blind football program, that's a winter activity from April through to early October. And again, we run that every 2 weeks in Albert Park. And again, most of those have a come and try session to enable people who are interested to try it out for the first time. to get involved and see if it suits them.
And in terms of the South Melbourne Football Club as a whole, I mean, some people may not know that South Melbourne is the FIFA-approved Oceania Club of the Century. Can you just tell us a little bit about the South Melbourne Football Club? Because obviously it's a club full of history and triumph and trophies and some amazing players and coaches.
So the journey of the club started back in 1959, over 6 decades ago. It was the merger of 3 clubs within the Albert Park, Middle Park sort of precinct. And out of that formed South Melbourne Football Club. So it's risen over those 6 decades through participating in both state level and national level competitions, built its history up, and has been very successful both on the pitch and off the pitch. We're a major tenant at Lakeside Stadium, so that's our home base. So we're very privileged to have that opportunity. We've been very successful on the pitch over the years with common names that people may come across in Australian football. The most recent one for that is Ange Postecoglou and the success he's had as the Australian national team coach at the Asian Cup, success in Japan, now over in Scotland with Celtic. And he came through the South Melbourne Junior program as a player, very much a family environment where he grew up with his family, then as successful as a senior player and then as a coach. So the success really culminated in that recognition in the late 1990s, going back to back at the National Soccer League Championship, then travelling as part of winning the Oceania, similar to the Euros. You know, you play Champions League, and then we actually competed in the first ever Club World Championship, where the team travelled over to South America. And amazing little things of, you know, John Anastasiadis scored at that event. We're the only Australian team to have actually played the likes of Manchester United in a competitive fixture. So a lot of fantastic opportunities that we as a club have been able to participate in over the years.
And looking back to the last season, I mean, South Melbourne had a very successful season during, finishing first on the ladder. But then you had this, you might not talk about it anymore, but you had this devastating loss in the grand final against Oakley. Just from your perspective, looking back, would you say it was still a great season, or is there still a little bit of disappointment how it ended? In particular, all the story around where the final then, you know, first they wanted to go out to Caroline Springs and then they moved it to Heidelberg. Looking back on that, what's your memories on that now?
Couple of answers.
Yeah.
I'll focus on the All Abilities program first.
Sure.
We won the National Blind Football Championship. Tick.
And huge congratulations to that.
Power chair team won the championship. Tick. Happy. The senior women's team had a transformative year in terms of they had 9 out of our starting 11 have gone on to play overseas, WA League Women's. So we had a really generational shift in our player base. So they didn't have the best year, missed out on finals. Our under 15 boys won the premiership. Our under 21 reserve men's won the premiership and the championship. Senior men, we will come to your question. The senior
Okay,
men,
everybody get close. Listen.
The senior men had a fantastic year throughout the league. Going through very successful, I think it was possibly one of the most successful years we've had in terms of the number of wins. When we got to the latter stages, we lost a couple of players, injury. Harrison Sawyer, the Golden Boot, was very successful in getting a contract overseas. So we supported him to go and do that. Won't necessarily weaken the team, but it took some of our key individuals out of that.
Yeah.
So going into that last match in Oakley, obviously if you look at that and say, yes, it clearly wasn't the best game of the year for us, and Oakley played exceptionally well for that. So you look at the scenario like any football game, you go 2 or 3 down, you start having to get desperate to chase the game. And so if you drop to a 3 at the back or similar to the sort of scenario, you can see where some of those last minute goals, you can just, it just runs away from you. And that's what happened to them. So look, credit to Oakley, that was their first championship in Victoria. So they had a good day and they deserved the result that they got.
And in terms of the future, South Melbourne desperately wants to get in the A-League now for years. What's the perspective on that at the moment?
So my answer to that is that South Melbourne's focus has been to return to the national level. Until recently, the only opportunity that has been at the A-League. So similar, we went through the A-League expansion process in 2018. We made it to, I think it was the last 5 bids from that process, 5 or 6 bids, and we're obviously unsuccessful with Macarthur and Western United coming through. So there hasn't necessarily been another opportunity to explore in that. And my personal view is the next opportunity, you probably won't see another Melbourne club, given the population, the dynamic that we've got. They would look to move to whether it's a Tasmania or a second Brisbane Adelaide or Canberra United's been looking for them inside. So for us, the focus isn't so much on the A-League, the focus is on what we call the National Second Division.
Okay.
So an opportunity there, which Football Australia are very aggressively researching and putting in place the model that will deliver, is what our focus is at the moment. And if indications are clear and announcements looking at a 2024 start for that, that's where our focus is at the moment.
So before we let you go, Skip, just wanted to, DeArne just touched on it briefly, but how did you get involved in football? Because you didn't grow up with football. Just recently you started liking football.
So I was in a career living in Brisbane, and for me at the time, between home and work, very, very short distance, like 2 kilometres, was what's Perry Park, home of Brisbane Strikers. So my social outlet or my sporting outlet, walking past there every single day, was to watch them consistently play, train, etc., and see everything that they were about. So learning a little bit about their history was they were in the National Soccer League, and so they were historically competing about the likes of the South Melbourne or the Melbourne Knights through that whole historical period. So for me, when I learned about that, and eventually when I returned to Melbourne, it was, if I want to continue that involvement, I naturally looked at either the Melbourne Knights or South Melbourne as sort of that demographic. Now, geographically where I live, I'm more south-based, so naturally went along to South Melbourne, got involved, interested in volunteering around some of the media work through the likes of Paul Mavridis and George Kouroumalis, got me involved in that side of club. That was probably about 2014, so about 8 years ago, and sort of grown since then.
That's amazing. But thank you very much for coming onto the program, Skip. Good luck to you and good luck to everybody at the South Melbourne Football Club, all the players, the coaches, all the volunteers and all the wonderful people there at the South Melbourne Football Club. And you do pretty much everything except for play at South Melbourne. And I know you're a very busy person. Yeah, exactly right. So thank you very much, Skip.
Thanks very much for having me on board, and look forward to having you and the team back at Lakeside in the future to continue your great commentary work and coverage of the matches.
Yeah, no, we are looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Skip.
We have to take a quick break, but first, here's Brian Yap with some details for us.
You all know that Windsor makes quality footballs, but did you know that Windsor can customize footballs? You can have your team's logo on a football. Imagine how good your footballs are gonna look with your team's logo on it. Imagine Ringwood City on this ball. Imagine Moreland Zebras. Imagine Brunswick City, or South Melbourne, or North Sunshine Eagles, or any other club that you can think of on this ball. How cool would it be on a match day having your team's logo on this ball? Remember, buy in bulk and save money. When you think of quality, think of Windsor. Go to www.windsorsports.com.au or email info@windsor.com.au and win with Windsor.
Well, as we know, the Socceroos had an amazing World Cup. They finished in the round of 16 where they lost against the mighty Argentina 2-1. It was probably a performance and experience that was beyond all of our expectations, especially ours. It's a shame that it had to finish, but it finished so extremely well. What did you guys make of it all?
I'm extremely proud of Australia and how well they played in that match. And that heart stopper at the end when I thought we were about to equalise and get extra time. I saw a really different team out on the pitch. I saw confidence, I saw the desire to win, and I think that's great for football in Australia because all it does is brings more people to this wonderful world game and increases the talent I think we're going to get. Mm-hmm. But I do hope some of them go and play internationally as well.
Yes.
And I only can align with that in terms of really great performance, unexpected. I must say that as well. So I didn't think that Australia will perform that well, and in particular after that first match against France, because then after the first 30 minutes it was like, okay, what we expected. Then a great performance against Tunisia and so strong defending. And then against Denmark, again, the first 20-30 minutes I thought, whoa, that doesn't look really good. Yeah. But then they made it to the round of last 16, and I think from that perspective, a great World Cup. If you see how many people were here at Fed Square, also in Melbourne, really excited about. But now the big thing is, what's coming next? You know, what are we getting out of that for football here in the country? We were talking about that offline already, you know, with the Women's World Cup coming up. So will there be the right consequences in a positive way, or is it just, I wouldn't say it's the next golden generation, with all respect, because I'm still missing those kind of key players. Maybe Greg Goodwin could be one, but I wouldn't take it that far. I mean, I haven't been in the country at that time, but I think those Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka, those were different personalities.
They were, and they did sort of go through the system at a much different time than the players that are now. But like when we talk about the future of not just the Socceroos, but football in this country, I think we'll go into that in greater length maybe next week. But with the Socceroos and their performance, and we did say this last week, we said the game against France, we were extremely critical because it merited. The performance was just not there. We gave credit where it's due. They were magnificent against Tunisia. They were absolutely brilliant against Denmark. Denmark, we can say yes, Denmark were probably one of, if not the most disappointing team at the World Cup, because everybody was probably expecting much, much more from them. Semi-finalists from the last Euros, a good, solid team, and Eriksen and all that, and Schmeichel and all that behind them. We can say, that they had a disappointing World Cup, but the Socceroos had to win. And they beat a team who were 10th on the FIFA World Rankings. We can debate the FIFA World Rankings and their importance at some other stage, but it was a tremendous achievement. And the game against Argentina, I think that there were some people who were being probably quite cynical that thought, well, for sure, this is going to be a repeat of the game against France, but it wasn't. Australia did an extremely good job. They did the nation proud, and I think a lot of people around the world, I know from a lot of the commentary from people in South America, where they're like, hang on a second, this Australian team were much more solid, much more well structured. They played their own game at certain times. They weren't scared, they weren't overawed that it was all messy and all this sort of stuff. They have tremendous respect for Australia, which is, it's wonderful.
And for me, what will be really interesting and a very good indicator is the Melbourne derby next week in the A-League. So it's Melbourne victory against Melbourne City, the derby in the A-League with the longest history. And to see how many people will show up to that game on a Saturday night, 2 weeks or 3 weeks after the Socceroos did such great performance, that for me will give me a little bit of a glimpse already where football might go to. If that was just an excitement about the World Cup and now we are back to reality, or is it something that can be built up? So I'm definitely very excited about that, and also very interested what's happening there.
I hope it's a build, I really do.
Yeah.
Because as we said, we're coming off the Men's World Cup, and then we have Australia and New Zealand hosting the Women's World Cup, and I hope that pocket of interest flows through and it increases participation and standard.
Yeah, I don't want a repeat of 2006, where there was this fizz of exuberance and joy about the Socceroos, and then this increase of participation in football and interest in the A-League, and then after a certain period of time it was like just stagnated, and they just pulled the handbrakes on. The FFA were just sort of, in the A-League, they got scared of expanding, scared of supporting their own supporters, to certain people in the media who have an anti-football agenda. We all know who they are. But it's sort of like, okay, you've got this momentum, build on it. And they were afraid to do so. I hope it doesn't happen like that again.
And I think, Gabriel, the bigger chance, I mean, I wasn't in the country at that time, but I think the bigger chance had been missed after the Asian Cup win, which was in 2015,
Yes.
when they won in Sydney in a I was there in a thrilling final extra time against South Korea, And then I felt like since then, it really went, okay, they were on their road to Russia, but then Postecoglou left. There was a huge blow up about what's happening actually there, probably arguably the best coach that Australia ever had, and then they had a quite poor performance at the Asia Cup then, where they were defending champions and went out in the quarterfinal. And if you look at it, Qatar won. And if you see Qatar's performance now at the World Cup, so that's why, 2006, I'm right with you, but also after that Asian Cup, because with all respect, I think it's highly unlikely that Australia will ever win a World Cup. So to win an Asian Cup on home ground, that was historical. Yeah. So hopefully now, with the Women's World Cup coming up, we can grab this chance.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know next week we'll talk about that in greater detail, and we all want, look, when we're all critical about the way that Australia plays or the way that they do things or whatever, yeah, we're critical about it because we're fans of the game. We want the game to get better. We want the game to improve. We want those that are participating at the traditional and non-traditional. Don't forget, there are a lot of people who play the non-traditional sort of organisational structures. Our friend Simon from Community Soccer Hub is one of those. So we want the game to grow, we want the game to get better, we want it to advance. We know that there are a lot of hurdles and a lot of obstacles about making football the sort of the predominant sport, so to speak, not just in participation rates, but in other elements as well. We know that, we get it, but we hope that football can just get bigger and better and expand and move further. But we can solve all the problems of it. So we're available, like
fingers crossed. Yeah.
It's not just about the participation on the pitch. My mum has been converted to the Great World Game thanks to all the recent World Cup. She's been getting up and watching Germany. She's got up to watch Australia, and she's even given me a tip for the winner now. Because let's face it, my tips have been tanking. Show. Her money's on France.
Oh, France.
She thinks France are going to beat England and go all the way.
Yeah. So, what are we thinking about the games now? The remaining quarterfinals.
Quarterfinals. We have Morocco versus Portugal, which is much later at 2 a.m., and England versus France at 6 a.m. So, our friend from the Spanish group, Miguel, did say he was very concerned about that game, Morocco versus Spain, and rightly so. Morocco, they've been the surprise packet. We all thought it was going to be other countries here and there, but it was Morocco. They've done an extremely good job, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's Neymar and Ronaldo at the airport. Maybe, you never know.
But I think the big difference is that Portugal had a problem with their star. That's, in my opinion, the difference with Brazil and Argentina. Messi and Neymar, they are integrated. In particular, Messi is a bit older, but still is the leader. Whereas with Ronaldo, it was so impressive to see Portugal without him.
Yes.
You felt like the whole team was like taking a deep breath and then playing so phenomenally, and then suddenly also when Ronaldo came on, you actually felt like the team got stuck again a bit, they were 5-0 up already.
Very
so
true.
I think it will be a key, and I would be very surprised if Ronaldo is in the starting 11. So without him in the starting 11, I think Portugal would still be the favorite, similar to Argentina versus Croatia, the semi-final, and England versus France is going to be a very big one.
That's
I still see France a little bit ahead of England, but
who knows?
Yeah.
That one could go down to a penalty
predictions
shootout,
at this World Cup,
Tell us, wise one, DeArne, who's been so good with predictions.
Exactly. I sat here and talked about the injuries in France for the Australia game because I was actually on the positive Australia. So I was Debbie Downer, and then back to being very proud of them in the round of 16. I think Bernd made a really good point. The depth of talent in France is much bigger as a country, and they've got a lot to win back to back. They'll be like the third nation to do it.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
Italy.
Yeah, so you had Italy in the 30s and Brazil 58-62.
Yes.
So they are playing for real. They're here to win.
Yeah, I think they've gone. I won't say beyond expectation, but we're all sort of like, the World Cup curse, but they've just obliterated that World Cup curse. But it is going to be a fantastic game.
And it's not all about Mbappe. I mean, he finishes
true.
it. I mean, they have him now with finishing, but the whole team. And with all those injuries, I must also pay a lot of respect to Deschamps, still, having to rebuild the team and with all the changes. So I must say, well done.
Exactly.
Yeah, the only weak point for France is probably Hugo Lloris, because he's the type of goalkeeper. He's a good goalkeeper. Don't get me wrong. He's very good. He can do an amazing save, and then 2 minutes later do something really stupid. So. But
we'll see tomorrow morning.
We'll see tomorrow morning. England versus France tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Morocco versus Portugal, 2 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We cannot look. I can't wait for those games. Semi-final: Argentina versus Croatia. That's on a Wednesday, the 14th of December at 6 a.m. And who knows? Morocco, Portugal, England, France. That second semi-final. That's on Thursday, the 15th of December at 6 a.m. we have to go. Thank you very much, Bernd.
Thanks,
Thank you
Gabriel.
very much, DeArne. Thank you very much to Elsa Mangan from Go Soccer Mums and Skip Fulton from the South Melbourne Football Club. If you want to know more about 3ZZZ, go to www.3zzz.com.au. Enjoy the football. Thank you very much for watching. See you same time, same place next week. Bye for now.